How's it going?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Pri- Primed with a coffee.
Nice. Six. Very good. Um, so obviously, yeah, this is IG Live. Welcome to Acaia IG Live. Um, Give me 1 minute. If you want to introduce yourself, I'm just going to quickly go and find one thing.
Yeah, we're going. Yeah. So my Mike, we've got a little cheese factory here just outside Belfast in a place called Newton Ards. We have also got a shop in Belfast, so we make a Ronald cheese called Young Buck, and then we sell a load of other Irish cheese. So yeah, again, connection to coffee probably is just that we drink ridiculous amounts of coffee while you're always hanging around,
Yeah.
waiting for the cheese at different parts of the day, so it seems to go hand in hand.
Yeah, nice. And how are you getting on?
So yeah, we're not too bad. Adapting to obviously within the course of a month or so, you lose over 50% of your business to
Oh,
restaurants and stuff like that. You gotta quickly adapt, but we're not too bad. We're a small company, so it's not too bad. But we can sort of I'm up in Ards here at the unit where we make it, so we can sort of see what we're doing and sort of see how much cheese is coming and stuff like that. So people can get an idea of you got to be planning 4 months down the line and all this sort of carry on.
do you
But
want to
we're
give
back
us
cheese making and stuff like that.
do you want to give us a little bit of a tour?
Yeah, for sure. So excuse squeaky doors and bad lighting and stuff like that. Can I switch this round so you're not seeing my face? Yeah. So this
Oh,
is our
dang.
our cheese make room. So this is cheese to be here. That's our little window out the yard. Um, it's very steamy. Again, you got to keep your cheese room hot and stuff like that. So that's our little milk tank out the front.
Nice.
So we can get like 1,000 liters of milk in there. The farm's about 3 miles away, so it's about 10-15 minute drive in the morning. Bring it over, pump it through this little thing here. Pipe comes through, and then this is our vat. So this is basically like a big bain marie. Yeah, so it's got a water jacket on the outside of it. Pump the milk in, and then we start to heat the milk. So that's pretty much the start of your cheese making. That's our little control panel there, so we can set the temperature. So we bring it in, heat the milk up to 29.5 degrees, and then that's when the cheese making kind of starts. Do you want me to sort of chat about how we make cheese and stuff like that? Is that
Yeah, because you
yeah?
mainly make like blue cheese, right?
Yeah, so we only make one cheese, so that's kind of why, yeah, we're a nice little small compact space here. There's not much room in this apart from making cheese. We add in whenever we pump in our milk, and then we add a starter culture, which is like a little fermented yogurt. We're making cheese again tomorrow, so we've got one of the little yogurts incubating in one of the other rooms here. So yeah,
Oh,
you
nice.
get a bit of oil in it. So this is our little starter. So we took this out of the freezer at about 12 o'clock today, and it's basically then you can sort of see it's still really liquid. This little room here is our hastener room, so we keep it at 20 degrees, and we'll ferment that overnight. And then tomorrow when we come in start the cheese making, that'll be like a little set yogurt. So the pH will have dropped, and that's a little tub of lactic acid bacteria that we'll add to the milk and kickstart the cheese making process.
Nice.
So then we've got a vat full of milk. We've got our starter culture in it, and then we add rennet, which sort of sets it from liquid milk into a big blancmange. Um,
What's a
that again,
lamange?
all like a junket. Do you ever have a milk pudding kind of thing where it's like a milk jelly? So
Okay.
it's so what you're doing is you cut this protein, and it sort of gathers all fats together, and that's going to make this big jelly mass in that fat.
Mm.
And then we cut it. So we've got these things here, which are our cheese knives.
Oh, dang.
So again, we pull that through kind of like this. So you're cutting it into strips. And then we use this guy here, which is like a sort of like wire cutter. And that's going to then separate the curd and the whey. So the curd is going to be what ends up becoming the cheese.
Oh no, you've silenced.
That whey goes to the piggies. So there's a farm.
So, sorry,
A few
Mike, you went a bit silent there for a sec. What goes to the piggies?
Oh, the whey. So in here we have the curd, which is going to be all the fats and the proteins that ends up over here. And then we have the liquid whey, which we pump out into those IBCs there.
Okay.
And then a farmer about 4 or 5 miles away comes and picks them up each week, and he's got a load of free range sandy back pigs down in Killyleagh. And then they get all the way, get all that fed, and then they get it turned into nice bacon and stuff like that as well. So zero waste.
Nice.
So then once it's got the whey's out, all the curd is still in here. It's like about down to about there or so at this stage. So it was full, goes down about half. We then ladle it with these.
Oh man.
So basically, we're moving it from here into here, and that's what all that is. So this was ladled about 2 o'clock this afternoon, so about 4 hours ago.
Okay.
And then you can sort of see it starting to settle down. It would have been like up peeking over the edge here, and it'll slowly drain, and like the moisture will come out, and you can sort of see it's draining away.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and this is like the start of what will end up becoming a really stinky blue cheese.
Nice. And how long do you let that sit for until you bring it?
So tomorrow morning, whenever we're doing the milk stuff in that one, we'll then be salting this. So we'll cut this into like cubes first thing in the morning, flip it over to get more drainage. Then we'll break up all the curd and whey into little like walnut-sized pieces, throw a load of salt on it, and then it goes into the next room, and that's the sort of the start of its maturation. So it goes into that room, which is like the wee hot room that we have the starter culture in. Goes in there for a week, and then goes in here.
Nice. And I'm guessing wow. And then these cheeses here, how long have they been there for?
So these guys, like that's why it's a bit empty. So we stopped making cheese for about 2 weeks, just to give us a bit of breathing space, because we're going to have a lot more cheese to sell. So the cheese will probably become older maturation. So we just stopped making for 2 weeks. That's why these shelves are empty. And then these ones here, these will be like a week old. So we made one batch a week for the past 2 weeks. And then we're starting again up doubling that to doing 2 batches a week.
Nice.
So yeah, they're still young. You don't really get any blue in it yet. This one's got a load of blue in it because he's in front of the fan. He's trying to crack and stuff like that. He's a bit gnarly looking. But yeah, still no blue in it yet. Like it's sort of still kicking around. The blue doesn't come along till later. So they're still very like white and crumbly, like your white Wensleydale and stuff like that. Like.
Okay, nice. And would you recommend eating them at this point?
We sometimes sell it whenever they're like about a month old, but then we got out of the habit of doing that because we would never have enough cheese. We couldn't like keep up with them.
You went quiet there. Wait. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay. The further down the back you get, the worse the reception probably is like, you know. So we stopped selling it whenever it was 1 month old because we couldn't keep up with production. But we'll probably start selling it at a month old again now that things are a bit different.
And how are you finding it there at the moment? I think it's
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah, like we're not too bad. We're fortunate to have a shop down in Belfast as well. Um, so you've had a load of people being super supportive. And again, the shop's been crazy busy. I think because the restaurants are gone, cafes, like Belfast has got a big sort of coffee culture, people going out for lunches and stuff. And that's just completely disappeared. So they still want to eat good stuff. So
Yeah.
we're starting to see people popping into the shop a lot more, stuff like that, like so.
Oh, nice. So, like a little bit of history behind you, I guess. Like, how long have you been? How did you get into cheese making?
Pure accidental. Again, I'd no really interest in like food and stuff like that. And whenever I left school, didn't really know what I was doing. Landed working in a wee deli, just because I wanted to work for a small company rather than a big company. Just didn't really know what I was doing. And then they had a bit of a cheese counter in the deli, and that's when I started getting interested in cheese. The fact that there was like a person behind it, so there was like this product which you'd always associate with like just buying in a supermarket or something. And whenever we started working in a deli, you started like you'd pick up the phone someone from down in West Cork, and then they would send you up some cheese. Like it was a real nice something really simple about it and really lovely. And that's why I started getting interested in it and wanting to know more about it, kind of thing. And then just spent like two and a bit years over in England working for as many people as possible. Did a course at this place called the School of Artisan Food. But again, yeah, just working for people. Like cheese making is very open. Everyone sort of is happy to talk cheese. Again, a lot of cheesemakers are solo or stuck out in the back end of nowhere. So whenever people have an interest and they come to them with an interest, they just love to chat and share experiences and knowledge and stuff like that. Like.
Nice. So, have you worked in like probably like cheesemongers, like selling cheese and then also making cheese, or have you worked like
Yeah,
both
so
sides?
like so started in the retail side of things, and then that's got me interested in the making, and then we've been making cheese now for like 6 years. And while we were doing that, we used to do little markets, just like again, nothing too big, just a bit of cash in hand at the weekends and something to do. And then with the big Brexit came along, and that was us sort of thinking, okay, well, can we sell cheese down south to the Republic of Ireland? That's where a lot of our stuff would go, and if there's going to be any issues with like that could have been a problem. And then also shifting stuff over to the mainland UK. We're in this little weird hinterland in Northern Ireland, where we're both and neither all at the same time. So that sort of got me thinking, the more cheese we sell in Belfast, the sort of more.
Oh, oh no, you've died. You've gone silent again.
More again.
You just went
I'll move
quiet there for a sec.
Okay. You hear me again?
Yeah, you're sort of breaking up. I think the cheese is getting in the way.
Let me see if yeah, I'll just get closer to the router. Is it better
Not really. I don't know what's going
there?
on.
Let me go.
This happens. You have to expect it with kind of with quarantine internet since everyone's using it at the same time. Oh no, he's dead. Oh, you're back. Okay, we're sort of back. Maybe it's Brexit. It's Brexit trial. Yeah, maybe it is coffee addict. Let's see if we can get it back working. Okay, it's sort of working again. Okay, better, much better.
Hey, come.
Nice. So obviously, like I know from Belfast, like visiting Belfast the last couple of years, like traveling up from Dublin, that the restaurant scene has gotten like way bigger there in the last few years. But do you find like you sell a lot to like just people in like Northern Ireland, or is it like kind of more international?
Yeah, we're sort of everywhere. We enjoy just selling as direct to as many people as possible, keeping ourselves very thinly spread. Again, that's kind of, obviously I would have known you whenever you're in Dublin. Maybe not. No, I think we probably would have met for the first
Yeah, we
time
probably would have met.
whenever we
Yeah,
were
back in.
in
Yeah,
Berlin. So
yeah,
again, like,
probably in
like things
Berlin.
like that. Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah,
we sell a bit of cheese to Berlin. We've got a guy in Marseille. Again, people that you meet at cheese events, you get on with, you be able to sell enough cheese to put on a pallet. It's a good hearty product. So that's kind of what we enjoy is, yeah, little bits everywhere, and it sort of it's helped us out.
yeah, because you've definitely like I think from being in if you work in cheese or you work in wine or you work in coffee, we're all sort of meet each other at some point, especially in the European community, because you obviously came over for the cheese event, like the event was that was over in Berlin recently. Well, not that recently, but recently enough.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
You've gone,
You have like
yeah.
these like crazy like cheese events where it's a very small, especially in the speciality side of things. It's like a small world, and we're all sort of put in the same direction. So everyone likes to get out to these events, and yeah, it's a bit of marketing, a bit of selling, but again, more like sharing. It's like therapy, as we always say for the cheesemakers. Just sort of what
Therapy.
issues you're having, what problems you're having, all these kind of things, and then you realize that a person making cheese in France and Italy and Sweden are all having the exact same problems that you're having in the Northern Ireland making cheese. I think that's our common thread is that.
Nice. And actually, we had like a you obviously you make blue cheese. That's your thing. But one of the
Uh,
questions we got asked was, what are your top three blue cheeses?
young buck, young buck, young buck. No, well, no. Again, the reason we started making blue cheese is that if you're going to make cheese, you kind of want to make something that you're interested in. So that's kind of whenever I was learning how to make cheese. I spent a lot of time over in England. Sort of two of the favorite cheeses that I made were both blue cheeses. So I worked for, did a bit of work placement with Joe Schneider, who makes a cheese called Stilton, which is like a raw milk Stilton style. And again, one, Joe was like the super most nice man you'll ever meet, but also the cheese making process was just so lovely. It was very like slow and quiet and mellow, and not too hot and sweaty and aggressive. So again, that was kind of something that interested me. Plus, like that style of cheese, I really enjoy eating. I think it's like sort of you've got that sort of creaminess, but it gets really with the blue, you get real complex flavors. The rinds are always different, and it's always changing, and that was something that really interested
Yeah.
me. There's another blue cheese that we made. It's guys called Spark and Ho. They made these little battlefield blues, which were little like tiny. They look like almost like stones. They're like a grey rind on the outside, and they were like super fun. But making small cheese is a pain in the ass. But again, really tasty to eat. But yeah,
Nice.
a lot of effort. And then yeah, Costal and Facet Stilton again is just a real it reminds me of white chocolate, so it's just something that's super pleasurable to eat. Even though like blue is always associated with like really strong flavors, and really like yeah, like ammonia and like spiciness, it's like those kind of mellow blues that I really enjoy.
Yeah. And have you ever like you obviously have your factory now where which you're standing in, but have you ever tried to make like cheese at home?
Yeah, well, I did a bit of like mozzarella making and things like that. It's something that's quite sort of handy to do on the stove. But nothing like yes, there's a cool like again on that on Instagram. There's like loads of like homemade cheese makers, and they make such class cheese, just like literally in a pan, and have these like crazy fridges hooked up in their houses and stuff. I've never had the patience for it like that, for like all this effort to make
Well,
one cheese is crazy. But yeah, there's people. It's super cool to see people like doing it at home. Like,
nice. Actually, I have a few questions from a mutual friend, George Nelson.
Okay.
The first question he wanted to ask was, how excited are you to hug him in the future? Because so George is
Uh,
obviously he's a specialty coffee person.
I want
But
lockdown to continue for a long time.
his question was, what are your top? So the sort of the cheeses that you would walk into like a normal like supermarket or like just normal store if you walked in, what would you be your top cheeses to buy?
Okay. So yeah, like again, I like super like I'm a very uncomplicated kind of guy. Like so, like I just go mad for ricotta at the minute. Like just any sort of, it's one of those things that even if it's made like on a huge big scale, it's just so like fresh and class and creamy and stuff. So I'm a sucker for like those kind of fresh cheeses. Uh, but again, I've no like you working in the cheese shop and stuff like that. You definitely go through periods of like different cheeses just float your boat at different times. Like so, we sell one of the cheeses in the shops called Coulee, which is like a 18-month old Gouda style, and like I had about 2 kilos of that this week. Like it just it's very addictive.
Nice, very nice. And like if if there was one cheese that, because like so for instance in a lot of like specialty coffee shops that I know, if they have leftover milk, what they do is they usually make ricotta.
Uh,
If you've ever tried, there's some cafes definitely in Ireland who make ricotta from their waste milk is what they
uh,
do. Is there any like other things you could think of, like any kind of other cheeses you can make from waste milk other than ricotta?
I think ricotta works well because like the whole way you make it is you like heat it to a really high temperature. So like from all your foaming and stuff like that, it'll take that quite well. There's another cheese like I've never, and we get people come into the shop and ask about it all the time, and I've never made it at home or made it before. And it was always a crazy cheese to eat. But it's like a Norwegian cheese called Skjettost, and it's like a burnt whey, like it's like really dark brown and stuff like that. I think that would sort of lend itself to leftover coffee milk because again, you're going to make you're going to be scalding quite hot to make it kind of thing. Like, but because the whole point of cheese making is like you gently handle the milk because you want to keep as much fat that's in the milk in
Yeah.
there, and then again that's going to be damaged and stuff like that with all your foaming and your spritzing.
Yeah, nice. Foaming and spritzing, nice. And is there anything like that at the moment that you've seen? Because obviously you get like a lot of questions from people who are coming into your shop. Have you seen like a lot of changes in questions over the last few weeks with like the quarantine? Like people asking.
Again, yeah, well, even like in the changes that we sort of noticed in the shop in terms of questions and stuff like that is from instead of people asking about a generic type of cheese, they'll ask about one of the specific cheeses that we sell and stuff like that in the shop, which is really nice to hear them talk about like the farm and like whenever but again before the whole thing, we everything we would have sold in the shop we would have sold through sampling. So again, we only carry like 20 different types of cheese, so that was really interesting. People say like having that conversation about why it's changing, why it tastes different this time, and stuff like that. So yeah, that was like the main thing that was like really cool before the whole lockdown. But now, yeah, it's an interesting one because we can only explain what the cheeses are because we can't be firing out samples. So we've had to
Yeah,
get a lot more creative with our descriptions and stuff like that. Really.
yeah. Have you been started to ask people asking kind of like like probably like a lot of people in the coffee industry, they would get questions of very strange questions to us. Is like, why would someone ask that? Like, do you ever have people coming in asking you like strange questions about cheese that you don't really understand?
We get lots of like people would go on holiday and they would have a cheese like if they were in this little village and they're like, oh, I had this cheese from this little village and have you ever heard of it? And like it's really cute, but there are millions and thousands and thousands of cheese, and like a lot of cheese making is super localized and stuff like that. And again, I think that's an interesting thing is like people have this cheese on holiday or whenever they're traveling, And they're like, oh, can you get it for us? And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Because how many cheeses do you sell in your shop?
we probably have about like 20, like between 20 and 30 cheeses. Like, yeah, not a huge number. Pretty much all Irish. We've got maybe like three or four sort of soft English cheeses from people that I had worked with or for whenever I was learning over there. So that's been really fun to sort of sell their cheese. But yeah, like, again, like, our big focus was that's kind of why we opened the shop was like whenever I moved back to start making cheese here, we thought there was going to be like this big like onslaught of cheesemakers starting, and it never came after like 5 years. So we thought, well, it's because maybe in Belfast we don't have like an Irish specific cheese shop. We've got like deli counters and stuff like that, but we don't have like in Dublin and Galway you've got Sheridan's. Over in England and like London you've got Neil's Yard. These like champions of the cheese kind of thing. So that's kind of what we wanted to do in Belfast. Then hope more Northern Irish or just as close to us as possible, save us having to like ship a lot of stuff. And yeah, the more stuff that we can source locally and sell
Yeah.
locally, then the
Yeah,
better it is.
because I've spoken with some other people who have also like how they work is that they know everyone that they're working with. So like, do you know everyone who's sort of like within your in the line of like making the cheese from like right cow to cheese like to the person who's selling
Yeah,
it?
yeah, pretty much. So like whenever I first moved back to start making cheese, like uh, me and a friend of mine who's a photographer, we like just drove around for like 3 4 days, picking up cheese from a load of Irish producers for like a load of tasting events in Belfast. And it was a way of sort of you'd heard of them or you knew of them and their cheese, but it was a way then of actually meeting that person. So whenever you'd be selling their cheese like throughout the year, you sort of know that person. So again, yeah, it's like definitely like the only cheese that we stock in the shop, we have to know the maker and all that, the farmer and stuff. That's like definitely like what drives what cheese we sell in the shop. It's got to be good, obviously, but you want to be selling cheese of people that you like and of
Yeah.
businesses that you of businesses that you like as well. Like you can have a really great cheese, but you could know that person is just like not doing things for certain reasons, and it's not something that we would necessarily want to sell and stuff like that. Like,
And like the way that in coffee we have like certified organic and wine you certified organic, do you have that in cheese as well?
you can get like there's like not a huge amount of organic cheese makers. Again, a couple of reasons. Like to be an organic dairy farmer, and if you wanted to start making cheese that milk, the cost of the milk's going to be a lot higher and stuff like that. So you don't get that premium of an end cheese product of being organic. That doesn't really make too much sense to do it that way. But then also a lot of the cheese that we sell and we make, they're raw milk cheeses. And to make a raw milk cheese, you have to have like super good animal husbandry and like good milk and good farming practices. So, it just people don't go in for the certification because it's not going to add any sort of value to your end product. But to make a safe, good product from raw milk, you know that it's going to be from that sort of mentality kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Nice.
So
Yeah, no,
it
it does. And like there's someone just asked a question there because like there's questions popping into my inbox. So
okay.
we have I guess like it's the same as wine pairing. What's the strangest thing you've had to pair with cheese or your own cheeses
Uh,
even?
yeah, well, we like I said, we do a lot of beer and cheese and wine and cheese nights and stuff like that. Again, one of our customers over in England, he does coffee and cheese nights. And again, people are always sort of are poking us on for that kind of thing. So yeah, like for me, I love eating cheese with while drinking coffee, and I think there's definitely a few styles that go super well with coffee, like Comté, those kind of real nutty Alpine style cheeses, and coffee is the way to go,
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I used to work for I don't know if you know Murphy's ice cream.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So they have like an experimentation thing that they do. And I think they've made like a blue cheese ice cream before.
yeah, yeah. They use Youngblood.
They use Youngbuck. No way.
Yeah, yeah, it's in like one of the Netflix ones. They used like Young Buck and did an ice cream ride.
Wait, they were on Netflix. No way. Wait, so that means
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
on
yeah.
Netflix
It's
then.
like someone. It's like one of those. I can't remember who it is. He's like a big American guy was doing it, and he was down in their place, and they had a Young Buck ice cream. Yeah,
Oh,
it's funny because
nice.
like I didn't even know about it, and then whenever it was on, I just got like load of mates messaging going like, "Oh, there's Young Buck on Netflix." And I was like,
Yeah, because
yeah.
obviously, like, Young Bucks, it's won some recognition over the years as well.
Yeah, no, it's been really it's been fun again. Like we've been making cheese for 6 years, but it doesn't feel like it's been that length of time. And you go through again with it being such a variable product, you go through good times and bad times in terms of like consistency and quality. Well, maybe we'll try and go in. I'll go and see if we can get into the end storeroom without the internet completely dropping off, and I can sort of show the actual
Yeah,
end
sure.
cheese, see if it works. I've got my wee cheese iron as well, so. I'll turn around to
Oh, nice. Whoa.
that. So yeah, so this is pretty much our storeroom, um, and like this is the only one rack of shelf we have left. So this stuff here we would have made, like in March just before lockdown, and then this stuff's all January.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So we've got, and we make probably about 50 wheels a week. So like one of these whole things is like a week's worth of cheese, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Nice. And like, do you do the thing that do you go in and taste it every so often as well?
Yeah, yeah. So you're always like poking and prodding and having a look and seeing how things are going and stuff. So that's like your little cheese dryer.
That's what it's
So
officially called?
yeah, like cheese iron, cheese dryer. So you can start to see like the
Crazy.
blue. So that's like
Yes.
that's just over like 3 months.
Okay. And that's like super crumbly.
Yeah. So again, that's the kind of texture that we sort of find in our cheese. It gets like real like light and fluffy and stuff like that. And then let's see, this would be like the youngest ones. So then these are like 6 weeks. So you can see there's like zero blue, but you can see that little crack is where the blue will eventually come.
Okay.
It's going to go along those little cracks and crevices, but it'll be another like 6 weeks before that's ready.
Okay. And how long would you like be able to keep cheese in this room?
So that's what we're going to find out very soon. Because we usually sell like whenever it's between 3 and 4 months. Um, but at the rate with the restaurants dropping out, it'll probably creep up a little bit to sort of towards like 5 6 months. So we'll just keep an eye on it. What we did was like you can sort of see that's our what we use to keep the temperature. So this room would usually be like 12 to 14 degrees centigrade. So what we did is we just turned it down to like between 8 and 10, and try and keep it at a lower temperature so the cheese will sort of slow in the ripening.
Yeah.
So even though it's going to end up becoming like 5 months old, it'll not be like a really strong cheese. It'll still have that sort of like young freshness and stuff like that.
Okay. It's
So
not
you're
going to
trying to
be not young buck, but it's not going to become old buck too easy.
no, no, it'll still be it'll be the same cheese, just yeah, we're just sort of we hope that the like cooling it down a bit, it'll just sort of slow it. But we should still like it shouldn't be the orders might start ripping back in again, like But
Yeah.
the shop and stuff like that, we're not too bad. A lot of the UK and Irish cheesemakers had like big campaigns, and I have a couple of friends over in England got to throw away a lot of cheese and stuff like that for the soft cheese makers. So we're in a fortunate position where our cheese is nice and hearty. It can sort of survive a bit, like.
Yeah. And like so like blue cheeses, they're obviously the whole thing about them is and all cheeses is about all about bacteria. But is can a blue cheese go bad?
Yeah. So again, like they can just become overripe, and again, that's kind of why a lot of people always say that they don't like blue cheese. Is probably because they've had like a really overripe supermarket bought blue cheese that'll be really aggressive. So again, if you cut a wheelie young buck open, it's still quite white. There's a bit of blue creeping around it, but it's not going to be overly blue. So because we do want that to be like that overriding flavor. But again, like blues that are going to be in a little plastic on a shelf, they need to like really over blue it, so there's a lot of blue running through it, so it looks like a blue cheese. So that's why they become very like ammonia and aggressive and wet and stuff. So yeah,
Okay.
you can definitely and we've had some batches that have done that, not by default kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like we would again we sort of sometimes our cheese, whenever it's 3 months, will be ready. Sometimes 3 months it'll still be very white and not ready to go yet. So that's why you've got that wee iron. You sort of like, you have a wee poke in, you see how it's doing, how the blue's going on, and you're like, right, that's ready to sell. Keep that one a bit longer.
Yeah, nice. And do you ever think like the way that, because blue is such a significant thing of blue cheese, it's like literally called blue cheese. Do you think that like more commercial blue cheese makers would be adding dye?
No, again, because like the way that the blue creeps in is through that open texture, so that's how you get these like crazy veins. Like you couldn't replicate that with like pouring a load of dye in it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, it would just be there's conditions that the blue mold grows better in. So like wetter, high, like more salt, like lower temperature, like all those conditions are really good for blue to grow. So they'll just ripen their cheese in a certain way to speed all those things up. Piercing it more, again, you can see the little all the little pierce holes in the cheese. That's kind of like how the blue gets in. We've got a kebab skewer. You pierce it along there, and it's the oxygen going in and creeping through all those veins is how the blue sort of sneaks through. So again, if you pierce it earlier, pierce it more, then that sort of allows more oxygen in, and that'll sort of speed up the bloom.
Nice. So like you're obviously like keeping busy still making cheese. Like is it just yourself making it at the moment?
So no, there's like three of us. A guy called Jonathan, and then a girl called Emily. And pretty much Jonathan came on after about a year that I'd been doing it on my own. I broke my hand playing football, and Jonathan's a good friend of mine. He phoned in sick for a bit to help me because, like, you can sort of see it's a super continuous process. So I had like got it to that stage where you saw earlier. So he came in the next day to help me salt. I just sort of pointed him in the direction of what to do,
Yeah.
and then he about 6 weeks later, yeah, he started working for us. And then whenever we were opening the shop about a year and a half ago, we sort of again we were looking to either hire someone just for the shop or to do a bit of everything. And Emily came along and just sort of fitted. And again, it's all three of us rotate around selling in the shop and making cheese. So yeah, so they
Yeah.
do all the hard work now. I just come through the point.
You still sound like super busy though, which is good.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it. There's always plenty to be doing and stuff. And again, that's kind of one of the ways that we've started selling a lot more is that we're doing like deliveries and just trying to get as much cheese out there and so on as possible, but doing it in like a sort of sustainable way where we're not killing ourselves, kind of thing. You still got to
Yeah.
make a bit of cheese and have a bit of a life, even though you're sort of stuck indoors. So yeah,
Just like everyone right now.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
And do you like so obviously like don't worry, I don't have too many more questions for you.
No, no,
But
no.
like what would you like you know your cheese best than everyone else, but what do you prefer to pair it with at home?
Like it's funny whenever we do like the beer and cheese nights, we always end on young buck and stout. But I midweek I eat a lot of cheese, but I don't drink a lot of big 11% stouts on a Tuesday night and stuff. So I love just drinking it with like real like sessional IPAs and anything like super fizzy. It just goes down a treat with it because it's such a fatty cheese. It coats your mouth. Any like real sessionable low percentage IPA just sort of quenches that thirst whenever you've got a real fatty cheese like.
Nice. Yeah, no, I think I'm fairly sure you can still buy it in Berlin at the moment.
Yeah, we sent a pallet over about a week or two ago to
Okay,
the guys
good.
at Alton. Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know. Because we actually, I don't know if you are doing a delivery system in Belfast like they're doing in other cities, where they're kind of biking fresh produce around the city.
Okay, cool. No, no. Again, there's been a couple that have sort of quickly tried to jump like on and had been doing them kind of like there's a thing called like it's a neighborhood food, which is like a sort of box pickup-y kind of scheme that they started down in Cork and did in Dublin. I think a couple of people are going to try that up in Belfast soon. But again, yeah, it's just been us in a wee refrigerated van, doing like all your milk, your yogurt, your eggs, we spread of cheese and stuff. And trying to work with like there's guys up in there he is Brockhammon Farm again, trying to be a pickup point for him and trying to then attach some of our customers onto that. And we're out there 3 days in the van to our customers, so we may as well try and attach on a few other good things from nice people.
Nice. I'm gonna actually encourage anyone who is watching right now if they have any questions. But do you have any questions, like coffee questions or anything like that? Or like general things you'd like to talk about cheese that I haven't asked yet?
Let me see. With coffee, quite like I was gonna say, like our we drink a lot of coffee and we produce a lot of the daily stuff, and we always like see washed and unwashed. And I never get to chat to them because they just drop the coffee, take cheese, and go. Like, is
They
that just
never
like a
explain it.
processing? But
I,
they do a wee swapsy, and then yeah,
I really hope they're not calling it unwashed though.
maybe it's not unwashed. Maybe there's just not. Is it natural unwashed? Is that what the two
Yeah,
things are?
natural wash. It
Yeah.
refers to the processing. So like the way that you
Okay.
would stick a cheese into like a dry room versus someone just leaving it in like a more humid room or something like that. That's kind of referring to how they dry the coffee out.
Okay.
Yeah, how they take pretty much how they get like the fruity texture off the bean. I'll give it to George Nelson. He'll tell you more. Don't worry. Nice. Okay. I think you've got loads of cheese stuff to do, so I'm gonna let you go. But
No bother.
thank you so much for joining us on the IG Live.
So surreal.
Yeah. Well, obviously we'll link to your page and stuff if anyone has any cheese questions for you or wants to order some cheese off you.
Sweet.
Okay. See you later, Mike.
Pass. See
Class.
you later.
Have a good day. Bye.